Please, I just need them to be warm. That's all I'm asking for." The words cut through the howling wind before Garrett Ashford even saw her face. He'd pulled over because his headlights had caught something. Someone standing on the shoulder of the highway, snow swirling like ghosts around her trembling figure. She was wearing a nurse's uniform, light blue, soaked through. In her arms, 2 tiny bundles wrapped in what looked like hospital blankets, their edges already white with frost. Garrett threw open his door. "Ma'am, get in the car." She didn't move, just stood there, swaying slightly, her lips moving in what might have been prayer or just exhaustion. He ran to her, his leather shoes useless against the ice, his shoe jacket already heavy with snow. "I can't," her voice was barely audible. "I can't get them sick. My car broke down 3 miles back and You'll all freeze to death out here." Garrett didn't wait for permission. He guided her toward his SUV, one hand steady on her back. "Please, I have a daughter. I understand." That seemed to break through. She looked up at him then, her gray eyes pooling with tears that froze on her lashes. "You promise you're safe?" "I promise." Her name was Marlo Sutton, 28 years old. The twins, Ivy and Esme, were 2 years old, born 14 weeks early, still fighting their way into the world even now. She told him all of this in fragments as the heater blasted and his GPS recalculated toward the nearest urgent care. "I left him 2 months ago," Marlo whispered, staring down at her daughters. "My ex, he took everything when I did. Bank accounts, apartment, even my phone plan. I've been staying with a coworker, but her landlord found out and..." Her breath hitched. "Tonight was my last shift before I figured out what to do next. Then my car just gave up." Garrett glanced at her in the rearview mirror. She wasn't crying anymore. She looked hollowed out, past tears. "The urgent care is 20 minutes away, but my house is 7. I have a fireplace, warm clothes, and more baby supplies than I know what to do with." "I can't impose—" "You're not." His voice was firm but gentle. "My daughter, Hadley, she's 4, lost her mom to cancer 2 years ago." He paused, swallowing. "Some nights I still don't know how we made it through. But people helped. Strangers helped. Let me do the same." Marlo stared at the back of his head for a long moment, then, so softly he almost missed it. "Okay." Hadley was awake when they arrived, her small face pressed against the living room window. Marlo's housekeeper, Mrs. Parker, stood behind her, looking both worried and ready to lecture him. But when Hadley saw the twins, everything shifted. "Daddy, are they cold? Do they need my blankets?" Within an hour, the house had transformed. Marlo sat by the fireplace in one of Garrett's old sweatshirts, watching her daughters sleep in a makeshift bed of couch cushions and quilts. Hadley had given each twin one of her stuffed animals, a rabbit and a bear, and whispered seriously that they were very good at keeping kids safe. Garrett brought tea. Marlo wrapped her hands around the mug like it was a lifeline. "Why did you stop?" she asked suddenly. "Most people would have just called 911 and kept driving." He was quiet for a moment, staring into his own cup. "The night my wife died, I stood in a hospital parking lot at 2 a.m. and I couldn't remember where I parked. I just stood there. A nurse found me, walked me to my car, and sat with me for 20 minutes while I fell apart." His throat tightened. "She didn't have to do that, but she did. I never even got her name." Marlo's eyes filled again. "She'd be proud of you." "Or she'd say I should have done it sooner," Garrett said with a sad smile. 3 days passed like that. Marlo insisted on helping around the house, cooking meals even though Garrett told her to rest. She'd catch him working late on his laptop. He ran a logistics company. And bring him coffee. They'd talk about their kids, about loss, about the small, terrible ways the world could break you, and the small, stubborn ways people put you back together. On the 4th morning, Marlo sat him down. I found an emergency shelter that has space. They help single mothers find housing and... Or, Garrett interrupted carefully, you could stay. Not forever, just until you're steady. Garrett, I can't... You're not. His voice was firm but gentle. My daughter, Hadley, she's 4, lost her mom to cancer 2 years ago. He paused, swallowing. Some nights I still don't know how we made it through, but people helped. Strangers helped. Let me do the same. Marlowe stared at the back of his head for a long moment, then, so softly he almost missed it. Okay. 4 months later, Marlowe got a job at the Children's Hospital downtown. 6 months after that, she'd saved enough for a security deposit. But when she told Garrett she'd found an apartment, something unspoken passed between them. The girls love it here, she said quietly. And Hadley thinks of them as sisters, and you as... He stopped, uncertain. As what? He met her eyes. As the person who taught us how to be a family again. Marlowe stepped closer. You saved my life that night. No, Garrett said softly. You'd already saved yourself. I just made sure you didn't have to do it alone. She kissed his cheek, let it linger. So now what? Now, Garrett said, you take the apartment, build your life, and maybe you come back here on Sundays for dinner. The girls have a standing invitation. So do you. Just Sundays? Marlowe asked, her own smile breaking through. We'll start there and see where hope takes us. 2 years later, the 4 kids would tumble through that same house like it had always been theirs. Marlowe never moved out, not because she couldn't, but because somewhere between snowstorms and small acts of kindness, home had stopped being a place and started being a choice. And on quiet nights, when Garrett watched her tuck in all 3 girls, he'd remember that woman on the highway, shaking and desperate and refusing to give up. He'd remember thinking she needed saving. Now he knew the truth. She was the one, saving them all. Some people cross your path for a reason, and the bravest thing you can do is let them stay.